This is David Allen, and we're talking with Ron Atkinson about a very important subject. The commandment that says, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. Thou shalt not lie. We're talking about respect for the truth. But Mr. Atkinson in the first segment made the point that lying or non-truth telling has become ubiquitous. It's in every facet of our community, whether it be in medicine, whether it be in law, whether it be in politics. I even asked him about the church. He hesitated a little bit. Then he said, well, it shouldn't be. But you seem to imply even the church is involved in this predicament. Are you implying that? That even the church is in the lying predicament?
Let us define the church. The ecclesia is always the people. It's not that big fancy building down there with all these wonderful sermons going on and people strutting around in these beautiful robes and the stained glass windows and the organ and the choir. That is not the church. That is a man-made institution. The church was defined by, in the Bible, it's here, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst. And the only reference to people gathering themselves together is in Hebrews. Forsake not the assembling of yourselves together like the manner of some is. That's why you and I, when we started off as Plymouth Brothers, we didn't go to church, we went to an assembly. You're aware of that. So the church, as most people, if you talk about the average person, the churches, they're thinking about that building and all that's going on it. But Jesus never thought like that.
But you know, when you think of Ananias and Sapphira.
We'll get on to them.
That was a very serious thing.
It was indeed.
They just said, look, we're giving some money we got from some land. They held a little bit back for themselves, which is very Bahamian, isn't it? I mean, really, they were trying to do good. And they were struck dead.
But they were telling...
Was that harsh?
It was the natural result of what they were trying to do. Didn't I tell you in the very beginning that truth is the glue which holds the community together?
But why were they struck dead?
The Christian community, and that was the first Christian community to which they belonged, the cornerstone of the Christian community was that everybody must tell the truth to everybody else. Now, if they'd have come in and said, look, I have sold this piece of land and I have kept back 50% for ourselves and here's the other 50%, that wasn't any problem. But to come in and say, I've sold this piece of land and given you the proceeds, that was a lie.
Why do they need to do that? Why did they need to do that?
Because that's self-aggrandizement, call it what you like. We human beings like to put ourselves out as being something in many cases that we're not. I pass every morning, virtually every morning and every evening, I drive south through Grantstown, Bainstown, the poorer districts, for lack of a better word, description, and I look at the people. I look in the faces of the people, ordinary people, and I look at them and I think of the statement in the Bible, we are led like sheep to the slaughter. Why? Because the truth, you see, society has gone upside down. Where I grew up, a yes was yes and a no was no, and there was nothing in between.
But Liverpool was a hard place in those
Pardon?
days.
Oh, Liverpool was
very
a
hard place.
But even though we were all poor and it was difficult and tough, but in a curious sort of way, people told the truth. We all knew the truth. You're going to have your normal 10 or 15% of people but you knew those. But the vast majority of people, by and large, we were all poor. The circumstances were difficult, but we told the truth to each other. You know, if there was good news that shop down there is selling something good, you know, the loaves down there are one and a halfpenny, as we used to call it, penny and a halfpenny, and people would go there to buy it. If there was a piece of good news, people would flock to it. But by and large, people told the truth. It was a tough society. Nowadays, unfortunately, wham, we've turned upside down. People don't tell the truth. Unfortunately, they're dishonest. They commit adultery, left, right, and center. I was in the gym tennis club 2 weeks ago. After I'd finished playing tennis, there was a lady sitting there, rather chubby, but I remarked to her, I said, I watched you play. You're playing good tennis. And she said, yes, I know you. And we began to talk. And in the conversation, I always try to talk to people about Christian principles and faith and so on. And I said to her, which I can say in perfect honesty to anyone who's listening here, I have never had a sexual relationship with anybody other than my first wife and my second wife. Now, that doesn't mean to say I wasn't tempted, because I'm a human being. I'd be tempted. I've told you what Billy Graham said, right? You know, first look, nature. Second look, a reflex. It's the third look. That's the third look. That's when you're getting it. And I can say that. And she shook her head and said, I've never heard such a statement. She's a Bahamian, black Bahamian, living in the Bahamas. She's never heard anybody say that they have never had a sexual relationship with anybody other than their wife. Now, I was telling the truth because that is the truth.
She was shocked by you?
Well, she was astounded. She'd never heard such a statement. You see, the fabric of truth in our society is eroded by so many men and women, I might add, playing around, having, yes, they're married, but the children down there, but they're seeking for something.
But Ron, didn't Jesus say that even if you look at a woman and don't act it out, you've also committed adultery?
Oh, you can commit adultery in your heart, and I've got to say right this to anybody, that I have committed adultery in my heart. I'm a human being, and I've had to go back and pray about that. You know,
So lying is really ubiquitous. We all are involved in this.
Well, can I go back to Jeremiah? Jeremiah was 3,500 years ago, and he said that the heart is deceitful above everything else and desperately wicked. That's the human heart.
Break that down in modern parlance. What is he saying?
What he's saying is that we find lying and cheating and stealing, adultery very easy. That's what he's saying. The human heart deviates towards this sort of thing. It's much easier. You know, when Jesus said that in order to follow me, you must first deny yourself. Now, what is he talking about? Denying yourself. I'll tell you what he's talking about. In my opinion, you've got to deny your own human nature. Your own human nature. It's natural to lie, to cheat, to steal, to be dishonest, to commit adultery. That I can only judge by what Ronald Atkinson is. And I see that sin, we call it. Sin. It's a very old-fashioned word which no one likes to use. But sin, you see, as I told all the young people that I've taught over the years, the central word is I. I'm in command. Me. That's the problem. And lying, cheating, untruthfulness, adultery, you're enjoying yourself and having a nice time.
So you're saying to lie, then you're really aggrandizing yourself. To lie is natural. That's what I'm saying. That's why Jesus said you must deny yourself. Deny your own natural ability. It's sin. We are born in sin and shapen in iniquity. That's what we are. And we tell lies easily. Now, when we do that, each one of us, all these lies going all around, society is gradually breaking down, and we have seen that in the Western world. We see it in England, we see it in the United States, we see it in the Bahamas. When I was treasurer of the Caribbean Conference, I see it in the Caribbean islands. This lying, I build boats as a hobby, as you all know, and I have to have good glue. If the glue doesn't hold, then it will gradually come apart. And you see, a society is coming apart because we're lying. In the courts, what do? You present the person with the Bible and say, I am going to speak the truth upon the Bible. Now, if you don't, the judge is going to tell you, you're going to be committing perjury. And there's a very severe... Now, why do we have perjury in law? Well, it's obvious that people have told the lies left, right, and center. And there's a severe penalty for telling lies, because if you're standing in the witness box telling lies, then this person over there could be in danger of losing property, of losing possessions, of losing money, and even of losing his or her life. Right. Well, it's so important, respect for the truth. Atkinson is saying that somehow in our society we've lost respect for the truth. But just now he went back to really Jeremiah and said that he said long ago that our inner self is desperately missing the mark, and as a result of that we tend to err to illusion rather than reality. We're going to take a break and be right back.